Welcome, Soma. All right, let's get started with the beginning chant. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Avidya pacchaya sankara sankara pacchaya vinyanang vinyana pacchaya nama rupang nama rupa pacchaya salayatanang salayatana pacchaya passo passa pacchaya vedana vedana pacchaya tanha tanha pacchaya upaddanang upaddana pacchaya bhavo bhava pacchaya jati jati pacchaya jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domanasupayassa sambhavanti evame tassa kevalassa dukkha kandassa samudayo hoti. Patiloma avidjaya tveva sesa viraga niroda sankara nirodo sankara niroda vinyana nirodo vinyana niroda namarupa nirodo namarupa niroda salayatana nirodo salayatana niroda passa nirodo passa niroda vedana nirodo Vedana niroda, tanha nirodo, tanha niroda, upadana nirodo, upadana niroda, bhava nirodo, bhava niroda, jati nirodo, jati niroda, jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domanasupayassa nirujjanti. Evame tassa kevalassa dukkha kandassa sumadayo, kandassa nirodo hoti iti. English. The arising of the wheel of existence. Dependent on ignorance, volitional formations arise. Dependent on volitional formations, consciousness arises. Dependent on consciousness, mentality and materiality arise. Dependent on mentality and materiality, the sixfold base arises. Dependent on the sixfold base, contact arises. Dependent on contact, feeling arises. Dependent on feeling, craving arises. Dependent on craving, clinging arises. Dependent on clinging, becoming arises. Dependent on becoming, birth arises. Dependent on birth, aging and death arise, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus there is the arising of this whole mass of suffering. The cessation of the wheel of existence. Through the entire cessation of this ignorance, volitional formations cease. Through the cessation of volitional formations, consciousness ceases. Through the cessation of consciousness, mentality and materiality cease. Through the cessation of mentality and materiality, the sixfold base ceases. Through the cessation of the sixfold base, contact ceases. Through the cessation of contact, feeling ceases. Through the cessation of feeling, craving ceases. Through the cessation of craving, clinging ceases. The cessation of clinging, becoming ceases. The cessation of becoming, birth ceases. The cessation of birth, aging, and death cease, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus there is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. All right. Welcome Dee and Jay. And actually, in a couple seconds here, we will get started with our meditation. Oh, did things just freeze for you all? They froze for me a bit here. All right. Soma, we can talk about that after the meditation. So stick around and I'll talk about that. So set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. As usual, there's just a few of us and nobody's new, so we'll just do meditation together, whatever kind of meditation you like. We'll just hold space together, as they say these days, and meditate. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, your body's position in it, reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that stood out. All right, friends, it is Monday night, and that means it is time for the Festival of Dhamma with the Magaseka community. It is time for Dhammapalooza. We've already done some chanting, we've done some meditation, and now we will see. I see there's already one question, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. If we run out of questions, we can read a sutta and do a few other things. We'll go as long as I have energy, as long as there's activity, or until the time ends, and we'll see how that goes. So welcome Shay, welcome Jantha, and welcome Rick. So we have some news. Today, board members in Colorado got the determination letter from the IRS stating that Magaseka is now a 501c3 in the short form, so the EZ. So we are officially now 501c3. We're still waiting on it to show up in the database, so you can't like go online to the IRS database and search it and find it. But we have the letter, so we're going to be switching over the Magaseka bank account to 501c3 bank account, and setting all of that up, changing all the donations and all the links and everything over to the 501c3. And then starting March 1st, we're going to start having a call to action to see if we can find the very first Magaseka Vihara in Colorado. There's many people who want to behind looking for possible apartments and or private rentals that fit within our budget, etc. to rent. And then when we find that, I'm out in Colorado and it begins. So that's where we're at today. So today the letter did come and we are officially 501c3. And so we're going to see where it goes from there. But all right. Bhante, could you explain why choices are not self and how we delude ourselves into thinking they are? So there is literally nothing that is self. That is me, mine, myself. There's nothing that is permanent, some kind of permanent essence. Absolutely nothing. This is why the Buddha says sabbe Dhamma anatta. All phenomena, all possible phenomena are not soul, no permanent self. So then wow, is the chat really that delayed, huh? Wow, that's quite a delay. Hmm. All right, continue on with the question. So, starting from there, well then obviously sankharas, this is again the choices here. Sankharas in dependent origination, sankharas in the five aggregates. This is volitional formations as translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi, with volition meaning of the will, formation being a creation, a coming together, a act of will, a creation of will, of intention. So we have this choices, this volitional formations, and you say, well, explain why this is not self. And so I think we have to talk about free will here. To say that there is no free will is to go too far. And to say that there is complete free will is also to go too far. this framework we see many times in the suttas, right? Where the Buddha is, trying to, being asked these questions to try to be pinpointing down on a question. But so we cannot say that we have complete and utter free will because dependent origination, right? The thoughts, the causes and the conditions that lead to us making a choice are not just appearing out of thin air. They're not created. A choice we make is not completely divorced and separate from all of our previous actions before that choice. However, Buddhism is also not deterministic, meaning that things just happen and you have no control or choice over them whatsoever. This is not the case. Or else the Buddha would not say, um, you can give up suffering. You can give up suffering, and it will be for your benefit. Right? The Buddha would not say um, to follow the Noble Eightfold Path because you would not be able to do anything. You would not be able to change anything. Things would just be following a certain course, and they would be locked in. Right? If you came into existence full of suffering, well, then you're going to be in existence full of suffering forever. But this is not how things are, thankfully. So Buddhism is not deterministic. You have the ability to change, to choose, to decide, even though those choices and decisions are influenced to a greater or lesser degree by your previous choices and decisions. So it's not to say something like, well, my choices aren't my responsibility. It's all dependent on other people and other things outside, and I'm choosing and it's their fault. That's wrong. Right? That's the deterministic view. Also to say, I have complete free will and, everything that happens is because I have chosen it and all these kind of things, that's also wrong. So the answer is kind of a middle path, is a middle way. It's in the middle somewhere. To say one or the other is just talk about extremes that are not the case. I'm gonna give a test to see who's in the chat. Say hello in the chat. All right, so there's about a minute delay, something like that. All right. Yeah, there's quite a delay. This is very, huh. I mean, that was pretty much a legit almost minute before I said what I said and Shay responded. Well, hello, Bolnath and Tom and Dee Dee. Yeah, YouTube has been having issues, certainly. Tom, Did I miss a previous? I'm looking at your what you said in the chat, talking about bleach dip and all that. It seems quite out of context. I don't know if you had a question there or something. Maybe I missed something. But you want to respond to that with some clarifications, maybe I can say something about it. Um, Rick says, Bante, can you talk about ways to adjust unskillful actions that we repeatedly fall into making? It is recommended to recollect on our skillful actions. Is there recollection on unskillful acts? So you have to understand that there will be some actions and some responses that are so deep and so hard to kind of overcome that you have to have kind of compassion for yourself that you're going to keep doing this thing over and over, even when you know you've seen it enough that you know it's going to cause suffering, but you still do it. Just means you're not there yet. You haven't fully let go of it. You haven't fully overcome it. So you have to kind of have an understanding, like you don't want to like justify it. You don't be like, well, I'm just gonna not care at all. Just let it happen until I'm done with it. No, no, you don't want to do that. You do want to say, okay, well, here it is again. This is arisen. My suffering is arising. Let me learn from this as much as I can in this time. And then the next time it comes, and the next time it comes, and the next time it comes, and the next time it comes. At least then you will be progressing. Then each iteration you might be able to learn a little bit from. And those little bits of learning over time will accumulate. And eventually you will understand that experience to such a degree that you abandon it, that you let it go. But until that time, you need to have some compassion and understanding for yourself. Not, not to let yourself, not to justify the actions. You still want to know that what you're doing is unskillful and bad and harmful and will cause suffering, right? So you're not trying to kind of explain it away. However, you're also realizing where you're at. You're realizing your limitations. And when you have those two, and you keep investigating, keep practicing, then you'll progress. It might take, a long time, but at least you'll be progressing. This is very important. You don't have to you don't have to have a special meditation on recollecting your unskillful deeds because your mind already does it. That's what restlessness and remorse is all about. All right, let's test it. Somebody say hello. All right, that was only about 20 seconds. That's not bad. Maybe it's getting a little bit better. All right. That was much better than the last time. A lot shorter. All right. Let's see, where did we leave off? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I accidentally. deleted. Majjhima Nikaya 30. Didn't we do? We did do the shorter Heartwood, didn't we? So what's the next one? The shorter discourse at Gosinga. Oh, this is a very important one. Maybe we'll read this. It's not too long. Yeah, we're going to read this next sutta. All right. Majjhima Nikaya number 31, the shorter discourse at Gosinga. So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying at Nyatika in the brick house. Now at that time the venerables Anuruddha, Nandiya, and Kimbila were staying in the soft forest park at Gosinga. Then in the late afternoon the Buddha came out of retreat and went to that park. The park keeper saw the Buddha coming off in the distance and said to him, "Don't come in this park, ascetic. There are 3 gentlemen staying here whose nature is to desire self-knowledge." What does this little thing say? Oh. Do not disturb them. Anuruddha heard the park keeper conversing with the Buddha and said to him, "Don't keep the Buddha out, good park keeper. Our teacher, the Blessed One, has arrived." Then Anuruddha went to Nandiya and Kimbila and said to them, "Come forth, venerables, come forth, our teacher, the Blessed One, has arrived." Then Anuruddha, Nandiya, and Kimbila came out to greet the Buddha. Oh boy, holy moly, the chat just went nuts. Because I see Gregory's here with us. Jeez Louise. Um, okay. My sound seems a bit low. Let me let me go back to the chat here. Uh, the sound is lower than usual. That's interesting. I don't know why. I don't know why it would be. Let me check the sound settings. Oh, how about now? You know, it's interesting. I was just where was it? Was I watching a YouTube podcast or something? And somebody mentioned how Windows 11 like just randomly messes with your audio settings. And I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what happens to me. Sometimes the mic's just literally just off for no reason. Sometimes the mic is half the mic was at half, like 50% volume for no reason. There's no reason I would do that. But yeah, so that's the reason. I'm not exactly sure what bleach dipping is that, the question is regarding. I mean, is it killing beings? I'm not exactly sure. Oh, hold on. Gregory asks, actually, no, this is not the sutta. For a second, I thought it was, but it's not. Well, if it's loud now, then just lower your volume. Now it's on you guys. I just brought my mic volume to max like I always have it. All right, you just probably raised it because I was low. So does Buddhism have a positive obligation to be generous in that one is at fault if they are stingy? Well, yeah. I mean, the beginning of the Buddhist path is generosity. So yeah, I would say there's a positive obligation to be generous. Yes, if you're following the path. If you want to be on the path, the beginning is generosity. The beginning is dana. Stinginess, as the Buddha says in many, many places, just leads to bad destinations. Right? It just creates further clinging, further craving that leads to further suffering. So practicing letting go in small ways, like being generous, is how you start the path. So yeah, if you want to actually end your suffering, you got to start somewhere, and start with practicing generosity. Bolin says, why is anatta so little mentioned compared to anicca and dukkha? How to realize anatta? I don't know that it's less mentioned. I'm not exactly sure that it's less mentioned. I mean, it might be a bit more intrinsic in the suttas than explicit compared to the other two. But you kind of have to explain anicca more. Once you understand anicca, then you'll understand anatta. Right? And you'll understand dukkha. You have to understand that everything is unstable and undependable. And when you understand that there's no permanent anything, then naturally you understand dukkha and anatta. You realize anatta by developing the Noble Eightfold Path. There's no shortcut. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you on with us in Dhammapalooza. How does one deal with a handful of extremely difficult coworkers? By avoiding them, if at all possible. Right? When you have to deal with them, when you have to work with them, then you try to do so in as skillful as possible, with boundaries, and boundaries and expectations on their end of how you will choose to act with them, set up. I mean, just because you work with somebody doesn't mean you have to like them. Just because you have to do something with somebody, we have to work on this project or do this, doesn't mean, we have to be buddies. These are the boundaries. We have to work together for this period. We'll just get it done, and that's it. That's what I would say. If they can't be avoided, then skillful, mindful action and boundaries. YouTube must be deleting messages. Well, it's funny. The other day, what's today? Monday. So maybe it was like a week ago, like the beginning, maybe Tuesday of last week. For some reason, MME couldn't go because there was no sound. Had nothing to do with my phone. I think just YouTube, the app, whatever, just decided that there was going to be no sound this day. I even tried to make another stream. No sound. So it's like, okay, well, gotta quit while I'm ahead. No MME today. That's the way it goes. And it's kind of funny how YouTube is so botched right now, and we have supposedly there's 14 people on, but you can't really converse. Can't really do much. As a matter of fact, I think we're going to call it, to be honest with you. We've gone our hour. We did some meditation and did some Q&A and all of that. So I think we'll leave it for tonight then. All right, friends. Sukhi Hotu. May you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. And may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday. Oh, now no sound. What? Anyways, goodbye. Holy moly.